Page 23, Clementine. Now they're introducing eighth notes. Now there are different ways of counting eighth notes. An eighth note is half a quarter note. So it takes 2 eighth notes to equal a quarter note. That's all it is. That's basically the extent of it. I could close up shop, now I'm done. You know everything there is to know about eighth notes. Sort of. The counting that I use, not all method book uses, but I use it, you use whatever counting you want, is I put an and in between each number. So this is in 3/4 time, so I would count it as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right, etc. Well, for eighth notes, I simply put in an and in between. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and that's how fast eighth notes go. Bum, 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 bum. If quarter notes are that, okay? They're twice as fast. Eighth notes, look at the top of the page. An eighth note, it can be a single note with a little flag, all right? I don't know which way you're going, okay? It has a little flag on it. But they generally, when you have multiple eighth notes, they'll group them according to the beat or beats. So it's very common to see 2 eighth notes when they're together to be grouped with a bar that goes across. That replaces the flag. They're both eighth notes. Now there's also a rest corresponding to an eighth note because every note has a corresponding rest. It's an eighth rest. Big surprise. And they show that up at the top. It's got the little line with the little flag on it. Okay, that's an eighth rest. The important thing about that, if you can remember this, is that the little flag always goes to the left. If it goes to the right, that's actually another symbol for a quarter rest. Not used very often, but some publishers, especially real old publishers, still would use that quarter rest symbol. It's very confusing, so you don't see it much anymore. The quarter rest used today is more often what they're using in this book. Is a little squiggle. It looks like a sideways bird flying or diving or something. Helps to have a slight imagination when you're studying music. You may have to work on your counting a little bit. You can do the clapping stuff they suggest so you get an idea of this rhythm with eighth notes. Now in Clementine, it's in 3/4 time, so we're going to count to 3. Got repeat signs at the end, so we're going to play it twice. It's got a pickup beat, 1 beat, because it takes 2 eighth rests to equal a quarter note, and in 3/4 time a quarter note gets a beat. So it's 1 beat, right? And if you look at the last measure, a half note, that's 2 beats. You put them together, you got 3 beats, we're still okay. In the first full measure in this, you have a C in the left or in the right hand, and you see the dotted line going down to the other staff for the G, and another dotted line going back up. That's simply their way of telling you the melody is going there. It's all melody. So again, you got to play this in a way that it sounds like one hand is playing the whole thing, okay? So practice that. So it sounds like a melody all the way across. And you get that same thing in the second line. You'll see the dotted lines. They don't have to put in the dotted lines. In a lot of places, a publisher won't. It's up to you to figure out where the melody is. Well, if you got words with it, it's easier to figure out because if they got a word with it or a syllable within a word, you got to have a note. Okay? So if you want me to have a 2-syllable word, you got to give me a note for them, each syllable. Now watch the rests very carefully. Make sure you are resting when you're supposed to rest. So don't hold these notes down longer than they're supposed to be held. Those half notes get 2 beats only, so that third beat, when the right hand is playing, it's got to be by itself. That's kind of important. I can't stress that enough. Now this is an example of the slurs. It's got 2 slurs. These slurs really kind of identify phrases, musical phrases. Musical sentences, we call them phrases. Look at the first measure of the second line. You're finishing up one slur and starting another in that measure. So between the half note D and the eighth note D, We want enough silence so we know we got two slurs. So if I play the first D, for two counts, 1, 2, I'm not going to lift up and go on because it sounds like one slur. So I'm going to cut the half note just a little bit short so I got some silence. 1, 2. You know, it's almost a half a beat short, but it isn't quite that much, all right? Okay, let's try this out. And yeah, you can figure out where your hands are. Keep it short, you're in C position, okay? All right. Now, because there's a pickup beat, so 3/4 time, I'm going to give us 3 counts plus 2. And we're going to come in on the third count, so it'll be 1, 2, 3, ready, go. Bum, bum, bum. 3 and 1, because those are eighth notes. 3 and 1 and 2 and. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, ready, go.